I'm Sophia Bantanidis. I work for Citibank. I'm based in London. I work in Citi Global Insights. It's our thought leadership division, where I'm a research analyst and I research the future of financial services. So one piece of advice I give to young females that are aspiring to be leaders in FinTech and in financial services is to be curious, about the sector, is to be curious to learn more, is to be curious by going out, talking to people, learning things, and just never stopping to learn and ask themselves questions. That's the key thing. Okay, so how do I think regulators are going to approach AI or things like digital assets in the coming years? Well, actually, they are already doing an awful lot of things. It's just not very coordinated at the moment because different countries, different jurisdictions have their own regulatory philosophies and they're taking their own domestic approaches. I think what's really important to look at when you're thinking about where could this all go is to look at what the global standard setting bodies are doing. It could be something coming out of the G20, the BIS, the BCBS, the FSB, or the OECD, because they set the guidelines, the principles that different countries then turn to when they think about what they should do in their own regimes. Yes, that's a very good question. So how do I see generative AI shaping customer interactions with financial institutions? Well, we actually wrote a big report on that. It's called AI in Finance, Bot, Bank, and Beyond. And we talk about two big things. Number one, we talk about what you might expect, how banks and financial institutions are using AI for themselves to make them more productive. But things become really interesting, and we're on the cusp of paradigm shift where banks' clients, the customers, will also be using AI to interact with financial institutions. They will be using AI for their transactions. They will be using AI to find the best mortgage deal. They will be using AI through a bot to find the best savings product. And that's really disruptive for banks because a bank's strategy and how they've been operating up until now with doing advertising or marketing or attracting and retaining customers, that doesn't work when the person on the other side is not a human client, but it's a client who is in the form of a bot. That's going to be really disruptive for banks, how they're going to sell, how they're going to attract customers, and what it means for their profit base. Really cool and interesting thing that I learned in my session, and it's actually the point that we concluded on, is the new role for banks in the future. With all of this buzz happening around us on AI, on digital assets, so on and so forth, perhaps a new role for banks could be, and where they could make money, more importantly, could be as the custodian, as the vault for a client's data, for their credentials, and for their identity and verification. Okay, so the biggest impact of AI and generative AI for financial services, I think immediately when I'm thinking about medium to short term and what banks are doing, it's about looking at their internally facing tasks and how banks can be more productive. Then when we look further into the future, sort of the 3 to 5 year horizon, we look at things like portfolio management or equity research, or even using generative AI for transaction monitoring, because these areas have a higher degree of regulatory scrutiny. That's why it will take more time to roll out. And then when I look further into the future, so the 5 years and beyond, up to 10 years, that's where we have the paradigm shift, where we have clients using AI in the form of bot to interact with financial institutions to do their banking through bots.